me than if it turned out a magician did it.
Yes.
In the way that I understand it, and it frames my understanding.
Yeah.
It's just, it might as well be magic.
However, when anything goes wrong, it is our job to give grief.
Yeah.
That's what we get paid to do.
Right.
And so grief was given, and now we watch magic.
That's the upside of having the microphone
Yes.
when other people don't.
Yes. Now, if our director would like to shut the microphone off, there's nothing we can do about that.
Right, but
we are
then-
helpless.
Well, then he has to deal with Pete.
Ah, yes, there are repercussions for every action. As here is an island off of a scalding tarn.
It looks like Wayne mulliganed quite a few times here.
Mm-hmm.
It looks like a lean hand.
Not the biggest hand I've ever seen. Yeah, it looks like maybe just 6, right? Oh, 5 maybe. And just gonna pass the turn back. Rill gonna take a draw here. Yeah, 5 cards from Wayne. This is a brainstorm. On the end step, maybe trying to bait out a counterspell. No, that'll resolve. Hit 1, and 2, and 3. So, Bristol Brangham. The other things that was found, not so bad.
So he's got the first piece. He has something to cheat into play. Now he just needs to find a way to get it there.
Lotus Petal. There's a Flooded Strand. Another brainstorm, too. This isn't the worst mulligan of 5 I've ever seen.
No, it's got mana and cantrips and half of the combo, so you can't ask for much more on 5 cards.
Sacrificing a Flooded Strand, maybe? Yes, or at least going to try to.
Eric Rill does have 4 copies of Stifle,
And
so...
Wayne knows that since the deck list. Wayne patiently waiting and going to go.
Got to really breathe a sigh of relief there. Probably can't afford to get your land stifled on 5 cards. And those stifles diminish in value so much for Eric as the game progresses, so... Dodged a bullet.
So another basic because he wants to play around Wasteland too. Again, Rill's deck has the Delver kind of hate package. Stifle, Wasteland, all of that good stuff. Now it's time to ponder. So hit 1, hit 2, hit 3. See,
Whoa.
Sneak Attack, an Ancient Tomb, and a land.
That's about as good as it gets right there. I mean, that is the mana and a way to get Gristlebrand into play.
Can't ask for much more, right?
No, this may be the 3 best cards you can find at this stage.
It puts the onus on Rill to have the appropriate answers. And he's going to keep with the ponder. All right, take a draw. Of course, he knows what that card is. Let's see, there's the tomb. Does he want to play the pedal yet? That's the question. There's the pedal. Are we moving in?
I like moving in. I always like moving in with this deck.
Slow it down. Maybe next turn. Scalding Tarn going to get sacrificed.
It's an interesting place to pump the brakes there, as Rill has no copies of Spell Pierce in this deck. I could understand if you wanted to have the 6 mana to play Sneak Attack with 2 mana left over, but in this spot, you know, you're probably not beating Force of Will on your 5-card hand. You can beat Daze, which you know Eric does play, so that seemed like a good place to go for it.
Maybe trying to beat Double Daze. That's the only thing that really makes a ton of sense. As you mentioned, he's not beating Force of Will.
Yeah, it's unlikely.
Yeah. The thought process here, too, could be, maybe I could brainstorm into perfects and then go for it from there. Rill going to brainstorm here, put 2 cards back, sacrifice a fetch land, so.
There's just a lot of risk in giving Eric time. Your hand's pretty fragile, so just trying to lock that game down when you can, I think, is really valuable.
Underground C.
So we'll see what he's trying to set up here.
I think it's really important for Rill to actually be able to break serve and win this game, too, because after sideboard, things get so good for him, but he'd be on the draw game 3 if he doesn't break serve.
Yeah. And when your opponent mulligans to 5, it feels like you got to pick that one up.
Mm-hmm. Don't want to let that one slip away. Rill's going to cast another brainstorm, aggressively digging for something. Maybe he also knows that his mana is going to be tied up for the next couple of turns, so he has to brainstorm now as opposed to waiting.
He has a lot of cantrips in his hand, but I don't think he actually has much in the way of proactive cards.
Yeah, I mean, he's got a Daze, he's got a Stifle. That's really about it. So, there that goes. He's going to untap. He'll take a draw with a 4-color Delver player. There's a Misty.
Eric just needs to find something proactive.
Mm-hmm.
And potentially something reactive as well. I mean, I don't think he has a lot of ways to defend himself currently.
He's looking for something in particular. We'll see what it's going to be. It's a volcanic.
Yeah, the green mana in his deck essentially just for the green activation on Deathray Shaman. So not something he's concerned with in this matchup.
It's basically Grixis Delver.
Yeah. With an edge trick and some Deathray Shaman activations.
Yeah, here's a Ponder. So, let's take a look. Quick shuffle.
I appreciate a man who resolves his ponder quickly.
No playing around. Nothing to think about
A
there.
lost art in Legacy.
Yeah. So let's see exactly what he's going to find here in just a moment from the Mystery Shuffle. Could be anything. Maybe even a probe. You mentioned he's got a lot of cantrips. Here's a probe. Let me see your hand. If you'll let me. Might be a brainstorm.
Ooh.
Might see a brainstorm response.
Pretty tricky.
Yeah? Yeah, don't want to get too fancy maybe. Brainstorm, Gristle, Brand, Sneak Attack. You see Rill's going to record that information. He knows what he has to work against now. He just needs to find counter magic.
And the concern is if you're in Eric's spot, you know that Wayne knows the top card of his deck. So why didn't he go for Sneak Attack last turn? There's a story you can tell yourself where the card in his hand, the card on top of his deck is actually Force of Will.
Yep.
So Eric might try to set up a better hand than is actually required here.
He's tripping like crazy. Another pro, just do a brainstorm.
Still got to find something proactive to do. Again, can't sit here forever.
Yeah, that's the problem. There's another pro. Just killing himself.
Well, sort of. That's one interpretation of what's going on.
Wishes he had a young Pyromancer in play, that's for sure.
Yeah, his hand is just Fire Ice and cantrips, and he does have the option of, for example, Fire Icing the Ancient Tomb and trying to get a look at things next turn.
Yeah,
But
that play's probably pretty good. He's just going to pass the turn back. Brainstorm now. Wayne draws a Spell Pierce on land and a Polluted Delta. So he can still defend himself.
Spell Pierce is a really nice draw too.
Yeah, agreed.
Too.
Ice. Shut down that Ancient Tomb. Thank you much.
And I think Wayne was contemplating whether or not he actually wanted to Spell Pierce the Fire Ice there, but I think he just said, yeah, it resolves without thinking too much about it, and then took a look at his hand and said, well, maybe it's actually better.
Now, here's the thing. If you're not going to go for it last turn, I hate going for it this turn.
Yeah, well, now you're getting hit by days if you go for it this turn.
Yeah.
And Eric's just looked at 1,000 cards.
He's just going to pass the turn back. I like the patience here.
Yeah, if you're going to wait the previous turn, then you got to wait this turn. Things have only gotten worse. I still think ultimately I would have went for it on the previous turn, but once you've committed to not doing that, you got to wait at least one more.
Ponder. Taking a look at a Wasteland, among other things. Wasteland's actually a pretty big draw here. Get that Ancient Tomb off the table. Probably pretty helpful.
Well, it's just unclear if mana is any sort of bottleneck for Wayne at this point.
Time to consult the grip. Take a look at the 3. Sets the stage for the next couple of turns. Rill going to keep. There's a Delta.
And he has found something to do.
Finally, clocking young Pyromancer. Took him long.
The thing is, can he even afford to deploy it right now is now a big question, too.
Looks like he might go with Death Right instead. Okay. The other question, too, here is how big of a role does Stifle play?
Well, if he can tag a fetch land, I'm sure he's happy to do it. There's not a lot else to do with Stifle. I guess you can stifle a Gristlebrand activation. Could be potentially good.
I kind of like that.
It looks like Eric says, yeah, that's fine. He's going to fight over it.
Yeah,
Okay.
I thought he was going to let it go, too. Stifle that. I think the thought there, too, is you've only got 1 red mana right now, so you can play Sneak Attack but not activate it in the same turn. Obviously, we know the truth. There's a Delta on top. Sacrifice this. Maybe. Or are you going to stifle this, too?
Yeah.
Because that's fine.
I'm not buying it that you have a stifle and you're not willing to do it.
Mm-hmm.
You did it last time. You're doing it this time, too, if you got it.
There's Volcanic. A land that can be wastelanded. Keep in mind, too, that Tam did play his land already this turn. It was that polluted Delta that searched out that volcanic island. I think it's time to move and groove here. What do you think?
Yeah, sure. Again, it's not getting better, and usually with Sneak and Show, the sooner the better.
Yep. Oh, well, that's the old dead giveaway. I've got a Spell Pierce, too.
Well, now you know Force of Will is no good.
Yep. I've got a Spell Pierce, and you know about the Gristlebrand in my hand, so you better do something to stop me. Rill going to search up a Volcanic. See if he's maybe going to try to cast a Brainstorm or something of that nature. He will. So is this resolve? Or do you counter this?
I assume you let this go because, again, the Spell Pierce allows you to fight over a Force of Will, which is your primary concern at this point.
Yeah. Couple of cards going back here for Rill.
And it looks like he's just going to say, yep.
I'm going to use this. I'm going to put Gristlebrand into play.
I like drawing 7 straight away here.
Trying to go for it?
Well, he's likely to want to draw 7 regardless. And you do have the upside of finding a Petal and an Emrakul if you go for it right now. And if not, you're probably in the same spot that you were before because you're likely to draw 7 after combat and then say go.
Yeah, so there's a chance to just win the game right now.
Yeah.
See a Force, a Ponder, an Emrakul, a Brainstorm, a Jace, and a Force. No Petal, but that's cool. No big deal. You can guess a Brainstorm, try to find one. I kind of like trying to find one. It might not be the best play, I don't know.
Well, he may want to hold up Spell Pierce for whatever reason.
Sure.
Especially now at this point where you found the Emrakul, you know you have it locked up next turn.
Yeah,
just no reason to get too tricky.
He's at 14 too right now. He's at high light total. He may have to discard some cards here, but he's got double Force too, so.
Yeah.
Happy.
And this is the risk that we spoke about. You cannot spin your tires all day long against a deck like Sneak and Show. You got to put a clock on them because eventually they're going to overwhelm some light disruption. Wade would have been able to win the game that turn against Force of Will. I mean, Eric didn't even have it, but would have been fine.
That can close you out. Doesn't take long.
No.
We're going to search for the old Trop.
Especially if you're Eric's deck where you can't actually remove Sneak Attack from the table once it gets there.
Yeah, most of these Delver decks can't do that.
Yeah. Critically outside of Abrupt Decay range. You can stifle an activation, but that only offers so much help.
Ah, yes, young Pyromancer. Passing the turn back. I'm going to show you Emrakul now. But first I will Brainstorm. Just to make sure everything is safe. If that's okay with you, of course.
Yeah, I mean, Eric may want to daze this, but it's going to be for not here. I don't know, is Wayne contemplating forcing this?
Yeah, I don't think there's any reason to actually fight over this. It's fine. I mean, you have Emrakul in your hand and double Force back up, so. Take a draw. Activate your Sneak Attack. Yeah. Kill your opponent. There you go. Yeah, that's it. Wayne Tam going to win game number 1 here over Eric Rill. Sneak and show up a game over 4-color Delver.
5-card hand, too.
Yeah, that's
the impressive stuff.
That's the big one, right? Where, you know, I think Eric was thinking I might be able to break serve in this situation because I put him only going to 5. Yes, of course, things get much better for me after sideboard, but I'd really like to get this one so that if game 3 does arise, I'll be on the play. But Wayne was actually able to get the job done. Back here in the booth, Cedric Phillips, Patrick Sullivan starts the game's open series here in Milwaukee. As it is our final trivia time, so get your Twitters ready. You got my question?
Yeah.
All right, I knew you would. Hashtag SCG Premium at SCG Live, excuse me, is what you're following. 12 months for our winner. Will announce the winner at the conclusion of this match. P. Sully.
Where are we going to be next week?
Yeah, I knew it.
Where are we at? Tell me where we're at. The SCG Open Series travels somewhere else, new location this season. Where are we going to be at? Let us know.
Name that city. Hashtag SCG Premium. Matthias and I will be doing coverage. You get to hang out in San Diego, not do anything.
Yeah, my first weekend not doing anything in several months.
Must be nice.
Yeah, it's incredible.
Must be really good just to lay in your bed and just do nothing.
Padres game on Saturday.
They suck. They're not even good.
But the ballpark stays.
That's true.
And I get to go to watch them play the Tigers with passionate Detroit Tigers fan Mark Herberholz.
Ah, yes.
So that will be fun.
That's good. The old Tigers.
The Tigres, as Mark refers to them.
That's Los Tigres.
Los Tigres.
Yeah, that's what we call them. Take a look at the sideboards here. We'll take a look at Rill's 1 Misdirection, 1 Ancient Grudge, 1 Museum Skin, 2 Pyroblast, 2 Submerge, 2 Surgical Extraction, 4 Cabal Therapy alone, and a Marsh Casualty. As we saw in this matchup just the last round, he's able to get by it. You know those therapies and surgicals are coming in along with the Pyroblasts.
Yeah, I don't know. We didn't get to see if Misdirection was a factor or not, but we do know those cards are coming in. Pretty straightforward. Therapy does a lot of good work in the matchup. Very disruptive. Pyroblast, Wayne, of course, with a bunch of blue spells and Surgical Extraction. If Eric is able to make Wayne discard, or if he's able to counter a critical combo piece, Surgical can finish off the game. Also, if nothing else, it allows him to look at Wayne's hand, which he can use in tandem with Cabal Therapy to snipe some cards.
On Tam's side, 2 Grafdigger's Cage, 3 Blood Moon, a Flusterstorm, Red Elemental Blast, 2 Swan Songs, 2 Through the Breach. He's got 3 Pyroclasms too, and a Vendilion Click. Okay, then. The 3 Pyroclasm team.
Yeah, we've seen this before.
Yeah, coming right after Eric Rill and his 4-color Delver deck. Well, 3 Clasms, yes, sir. We could see the Red Blast come in. We could see Swan Song come in, potentially. And the 3 copies of Blood Moon. Now, to be fair, I've never been a big Blood Moon fan against these Delver decks. It just never works the way that you want it to.
I still think it's probably high enough upside. Eric's deck is just all non-basic lands. You can fight over his non-land mana sources with your Pyroclasm, and the upside is huge. You also know that he's bringing in Pyroblast, so there's some argument to bring in red cards that are significant.
I think there's real argument here to actually leaving Blood Moon on, because let's think about it for a minute. Against maybe Rug Delver or some other Delver decks, I think it's game over. This is a deck that has Deathrite Shaman and red cards. Like, he can cast the Young Pyromancer even if Blood Moon's still even if Blood Moon's in play, and Deathrite Shaman can actually just activate a bunch to be able to cast his other spells, like a Delver of Secrets.
Yeah, there's definitely some risk involved with it, and when you're on the draw, it can be quite bad. It's still a high upside play. It might be a player draw situation where Wayne will want it when he's going first and not when he's going second.
You see Kent Cat. I'm not sure exactly what Kent Ketter is doing behind Wayne Tam right now. Kent Ketter, this weekend obviously didn't go great for him, so now he's in Cradle's backpack mode.
Really the first Open Series weekend where he was not that much of a factor.
Yeah. I know we watched him in round 1 of our standard open playing Jund Monsters. Things just didn't break his way. Eric Rill, Kent having a good laugh. These guys traveled up here from the Indiana and Cincinnati area, so they got a bit of a drive on the way back.
What kind of drive is that?
Let's see. So from here to Chicago is about an hour and a half. Chicago to Indy is about 3.5. I think 3.5 is a pretty good estimate. So we're looking at 5 there, and then Bloomington's another. He's looking like 7 hours maybe.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, and if Rill lives in Cincinnati, he's looking at another, probably another hour on top of that, maybe less. So let's say 8 hours conservatively.
Okay.
Worth it. Worth it.
I remember those days.
An 8-hour drive, that's nothing.
I know.
Give me an iPod, give me some headphones, give me some Steak and Shake, we're good to go.
Oh, I traveled more than 8 hours in environments way less comfortable than the one you're describing.
Wasn't particularly comfortable. Must have been pretty bad for you.
Oh, yeah. No, I've had some really horrible road trips, but That is what the love of Magic will do to you.
Who am I kidding? Chris Anderson treated me right.
You will break into a dorm room in Rochester to sleep on a floor in the middle of winter, for example. That's just one example.
I don't know what to say. Did you win the tournament you went to?
I was actually playing in a team PTQ when I was already qualified for the Pro Tour and had no intent of playing.
You are a maniac.
Like I said, I understand. I understand this.
Did you win that?
No, we and I also went up there to Bird Canadian Nationals. That was going on too. So
your love for the game knows no bounds.
My love of birding is pretty. I mean, it really laid the foundation for doing the commentary. I drove 8 hours and slept in horrible conditions to watch a nationals for a different country.
Well, I hope the birding experience was a good one.
It was sweet.
Okay. That's all I can really hope for.
I got to watch Eric Rude just deal on people.
All right.
Yeah, it was sweet.
I would never drive that long to watch a Magic tournament. Are you kidding me?
Well, also play in a Magic tournament. I mean, I did both things.
All right, fair enough, fair enough. This is a tropical island and a ponder. Wow, this hand from Tam is a delight.
Yeah, I mean, it's Pyroclasm, a lot of mana, show and tell. Doesn't look like he has anything to cheat to play, but
that's what you draw this for.
The Pyroclasm gives him a lot of time. Again, Eric's deck is just very vulnerable to this card.
Yeah, I think Eric has Force Will this game, so see what happens here. This is going to be mighty interesting. See, he's resolving a ponder here.
But having a sideboarded card that requires a Force of Will just on its own is a huge deal for Wayne.
Mm-hmm. Draws another copy of Show and Tell. Here's a Scalding Tarn. There's a paddle. Sacrifice this. Is it bad that I just want to see the bluff Show and Tell with nothing in hand?
Just crank it out.
Yeah. Just because you know your opponent has Force of Will and they don't have a daze and you just want to show them.
I like it.
Not a particularly good play, but...
No, but I appreciate the perspective. You just want to get him.
I was playing a pickup game against James Gates in Los Angeles, and I cast a Green Sunset for 0, expecting him to daze it. He didn't. I did not search for a Dryad Arbor, and then I played Dryad Arbor as my land for the turn.
Yeah.
And then I got made fun of relentlessly. You know what? I deserved it.
Yeah.
I deserved it.
And that's the upside of those plays. The psychological edge
Yeah.
that you get to carry in, not only through the rest of those games, but in future matches against the same person.
I beat him that game, by the way. Chances are he's watching coverage and not very happy that I told this story.
Well, it makes him sound like a master, and you just sort of like a lucky buffoon, so I don't know if that's really the case.
That's what people call me. Here's a Delver of Secrets.
Not the first time, won't be the last.
That's for sure. Let's see what comes rolling off the top there. Brainstorm. Best card in Legacy has been added to the grip.
Yeah, and especially with his hand the way it is right now, where he's just missing a piece.
Mm-hmm. See the Ancient Tune coming into play. A little bit risky there to play that. Open yourself up to Wasteland. A little surprised not to see him maybe lead off with a Brainstorm, but here's a Surgical Extraction. To flip the Delver, Rill knew that was coming. The question is, does he want to keep that? Because he can sacrifice Misty Rainforest to draw a different card, or he can keep this one.
Yeah, I can't imagine him really wanting the Surgical unless he has Cabal Therapy and he wants to be sure. And even then, it's a pretty large cost.
Yes, okay. In for 3 we go. So now, here's the thing that Rill didn't have last game. As much cantripping as he did do, he had no pressure.
Yeah, that's the start. I mean, it has to involve a clock.
Even though Tam mulliganed to 5, Rill with no pressure. This game he does. This is a Brainstorm from Tam on Rill's end step. We're going to go 1, a 2, a 3. No biggie. No big guy.
Mm-hmm. He really needs to put that Brainstorm because he knows about Surgical Extraction.
He needs to be very careful. And Rill has shown he is not scared to fire that off.
Still waiting.
Yeah, it's almost like you need to cast a Brainstorm again now, right?
Well, you probably need to do it before you commit blue mana to anything else.
Sure. You know, you don't know if you've seen Tam, watch Rill or play Rill previously, but Rill has a propensity to just fire off the Surgical Extractions pretty quickly. Mm-hmm. Not afraid to do so. Wayne.
Wayne has been very patient with his brainstorms.
Mm-hmm.
It wouldn't surprise me to see him wait
Oh, what? Pyroclasm, maybe?
I guess.
Yeah. Moving in.
I can respect this play. Make Eric recommit something to the board.
Yeah, I actually like this too because, you know, the fact that he doesn't have a lot of clocks. Might actually fight over this too, which would be really interesting.
Sure. If Eric has nothing else going on, what else is he going to do?
And you mentioned this is a card that is almost Force of Willable on its own, but Rill's just going to let this go. The other thing too is that the pause gives away a little bit of information to Wayne as well. Let you know, hey, I got some counter magic over here. I'm not going to use it on the Pyroclasm though. Here's a Surgical. This looks like a Brainstorm, yeah. Not sure what Surgical's targeting. We'll find out for you guys.
Yeah, I can see an argument for Pyroclasm or Brainstorm
Uh-huh.
here, so.
Looks like they're going to have a Brainstorm in response to start though. And it did target Brainstorm, so this isn't much of a surprise. Again, if you've seen Rill play, he does not waste time firing off Surgical extractions. I think Rill here is considering if he wants to actually let this resolve. Okay, we're good. There's a Show and Tell. There's a Force of Will. Scalding Tarn, almost Brainstorm locked.
Mm-hmm. Well, in any case, he's going to get to shuffle his deck through this.
That's true.
This Surgical Extraction.
In this situation, the Tarn, I think, is the most interesting card here because he could use some red mana, could tam for future Pyroclasms and sneak attacks, but at the same time, he puts these cards back. They're going to be shuffled away from the Surgical, so.
Yeah, I like the idea of keeping one of the lands here. Although, I suppose, under no pressure, Wayne has time to find red mana if that's the issue.
Mm-hmm. There's a Grip. Show and Tell. Force Will, Spell Pierce. So if he draws a big creature, it's going to be showtime. But at the same time, I think Rill may have a copy of Cabal Therapy in his hand, so he may be the one that gets to have the fun now.
And he could reasonably go after Show and Tell or Force of Will here.
Mm-hmm. So all the Brainstorms are gone. Less manipulation. Okay.
Now we'll see how Eric wants to follow up here. I had to assume he's casting Cabal Therapy in this spot.
Yeah, I'd be surprised if he didn't. If he has one, I'd be surprised if he didn't.
The problem is, again, this tropical island is causing him a reasonable amount of harm here as he has blue spells, Cabal Therapy, Young Pyromancer, Pyroblast. He kind of wants to, if anything, he would want to go and get a Badlands right now, but there are none in his deck.
Mm-hmm.
And he can't get it with Misty Rainforest even if he could. So there is an argument for saying, your hand's kind of bad. I'll actually go get a Volcanic Island, play my Young Pyromancer, and start attacking.
I mean, maybe the thought process here is, hey, if he bricks once, we're okay.
Mm-hmm.
If he hits, we're in a little bit of trouble.
Yeah, and you can tell no other land in hand, so he basically has to choose between whether or not he wants the Young Pyromancer or whether he wants the Cabal Therapy.
Well, this is telling. You see the land that he searches out right away. It's a volcanic island. So, young Peasy. Maybe it's his time.
It's finger crossing time if you're Eric.
Everyone's going to shuffle. Do you have a deck I can shuffle?
I do not.
Looks like he's wondering if he can shuffle after the Surgical Extraction, that's all.
Yeah. Probably didn't get his fill of shuffling today, playing with Ponder and fetch lands and such.
There's Young Pyromancer. Wow, forcing. I'm a little surprised.
Well, he may just be saying, if game one's any indicator, I just don't think Eric can beat me unless he's putting me under the gun.
Sure.
And now you're looking at Eric's hand. You know, it's a Cabal Therapy, 3 Force of Wills, and a Pyroblast. How comfortable are you really with this hand without any pressure in play?
Mm-hmm. This hand is really, really good if Young Pyromancer's in play.
Correct.
Really good. And it's time to battle. Yeah.
This is caution of the wind time right now. If Wayne finds one of his large creatures, it's resolving.
Yep.
This is the cost Eric's made taking this line. He wants to get something in play. He needs to start attacking. But the risk is next turn could be really rough.
I can't imagine Wayne fights back here.
Yeah, I mean, he would have to lose his shell until almost certainly.
Yep. That's in. For Wayne Tam, an 8-outer. 4 Gristlebrand's, 4 Emrakul's to draw to. And untap. In just a moment. Here we go. A draw.
Here we go.
A Scalding Tarn. Rill is safe.
Although, again, Eric's hand doesn't offer him any protection going forward.
Yep.
For the time being. If he draws a black source of mana, that's one thing. But
In for 2. Rill's got those shields up now. Pyroblast can take care of Show and Tell. Gataxian Probe lets him see the Force, the Show, and the Tarn. Van Meter, the Elemental token, will show up. Rill will get to draw a card. Deathrite Shaman gonna get added to the board before passing the turn back. Tam takes a draw.
big draw. He's still good. He is.
Just passes. Obviously not what he's looking for. Rill draws his card. It's a copy of Spell Pierce. Deathrite. Little mana. Cabal Therapy. Finally found some black mana.
Yep.
And you counter this one. Too bad. Next one's going to resolve.
Yeah, I don't think Wayne can fight over this, and now it's going to be really tough for him to win. He's going to lose his copy of Show and Tell, and that's going to put him in a spot where he needs both a large creature and some way to cheat and play to reassemble.
Now this is the appeal of Rill's deck, right? The Young Pyromancer Cabal Therapy engine against combo decks.
This is nice.
Yeah. Go ahead, count on the first one. I dare you. And he's just gonna I think Tam understands now. It's just you force a will. That's cool. Cabal Therapy did its job, and I'll flash it back, replace the elemental that I sacrifice anyway, and get your Show and Tell, and then you're basically drawing dead.
Yeah, this is the place where therapy does a lot more work than something like Thoughtseize could.
Yeah. Yeah, and so there goes Show and Tell. Yeah, the thing is, you just can't counter it. It's an uncounterable spell at that point.
Yeah.
Now Rill's going to sacrifice a creature. Going to cast Therapy again. A little surprised he didn't attack first there.
Well, he has the fresh one that he just made.
Oh, yeah, sure.
He has one that has Summoning
sure,
Sickness anyway, so.
Take a draw. Tam just passes the turn back, it looks like. Not quite sure if he found anything of relevance. A card like Sneak Attack isn't so bad right now. But he just passes over back, so not what he's looking for. Rill going to take a draw. We're coming in for how much? 2-turn clock if he attacks with everybody.
Yep.
Yep, so there's 5. Tam's going to go down to 5. Pass it back. And that does it. So, Eric, Rill, Wayne, Tam. One more. Can't get her. They just... Hey, I don't even know what to call that celebration.
Unclear if he is excited for his buddy to force a game 3 or disappointed that he cannot go home just yet.
Yeah. You know what that looks like? That looks like a man that's driving the car.
Oh, yeah. He's the wheelman for sure.
I've had that. I've seen that look before. I can't say I had that look before because I never did the driving at the PTQs during my college days. I did the riding.
Mm-hmm.
By the riding, I mean the sleeping in the car. I was a terrible guest for PTQs.
I did a fair bit of driving.
Well, I didn't learn how to drive until I was 21.
Okay.
So
Why was that a thing?
I was scared to drive.
Okay. Fair enough.
The road is a scary place.
It's kind of scary.
And then I learned how. Now it's like the easiest thing in the world, and it's lots of fun.
Yeah.
But so in college, I got driven to most of my PTQs. Also in high school, the only place I really went was the game store after school. So my dad was just like, "I'll just drive you up there,"
Okay.
and my friends drove me back.
My parents could not wait to be released of that burden, so
Yeah.
I was driving as soon as it was possible. I was actually bicycling to the hobby store even earlier than that.
Nice.
Yeah.
Nice. So the old Ground Zero Comics in Strongsville, Ohio. Papa Bear would drive me up there. I would do all of the Magic playing after school, and I'd come back, play some Warcraft 3.
You're pretty lucky. Our hobby stores growing up were really bad. Fortunately, the only game in town opened when I believe I was a sophomore in high school, and they actually ran a PTQ today, so they're still alive and
Nice.
kicking out in the Somerville area. So shout out to everyone who attended that event. Before that, there was a place called Cards and Comics in my town that was terrible, and then there was another place that shall remain nameless that ended up being shut down, I believe, because it was a mob front. So it was hard for me to find a place to play Magic in an organized fashion until the only game in town opened up.
Jersey is a really special place.
It's
isn't
awesome.
It? Yeah.
I love it. I love it back there.
the old mob front card store. Yeah, absolutely.
The background on my Twitter page and on my Facebook page is the New Jersey state flag. I'm very enthusiastic about where
I
I'm
know
from.
you love it. I know you
love
do.
it.
Hey, I'm proud to be a Clevelander. It really teaches you how to lose.
Sure.
That's the thing. So if I lose in a Magic tournament, that's nothing.
Yeah.
Because we've been losing my
You've been
entire
built-
life.
You've been built for this.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Rill and Tam, game number 3. Tam is happy enough. Doesn't look thrilled with this keep. Seemed like it was kind of a shrug and just sure. See, Rill can actually find early black mana for once. Here's Lotus Petal.
In fairness,
Strand.
it's very likely that Eric is going to be missing colors to some extent because he's all on blue duels, so he doesn't have, bad lands to go get or taigas or whatever to cobble together various pieces. So he is likely going to be missing mana at some point over the course of the game, unless he leads with a Deathrite Shaman, in which case everything becomes very easy.
See what the follow-up's going to be. If anything, nothing.
Yeah, I think he just respects the possibility of Stifle.
And that's completely reasonable.
Yeah.
So here's a Volcanic off a Scalding Tarn. You see him get a basic 2 to play around Wasteland. Now here's a Ponder from Rill.
And Wayne again with a pretty explosive hand.
You see Sneak Chase. A couple other cards hanging out over there. It is a good one.
Could use some mana.
Well, there's a Delta.
And with Wayne so committed to getting basics in the face of Eric's Wastelands, it really is not great for him that he has no mountain to go get. Because red mana has been a bottleneck for him at various points.
There's Scalding Tarn. Yeah, the basic mountain is really controversial. I know Todd hated it when he played it last weekend. And it seems like sometimes it's like a necessary evil because it does seem like a pretty bad draw a lot of the time.
Yes.
But there's also some games where it's like, well, I need a red source that is wasteland proof.
It comes up very often with Sneak and Show that you have to tap out of red mana to cast Sneak Attack because you don't have 2 red sources of mana. This comes up a fair bit. And so there's a lot of games where you tap out for your Sneak Attack and you are crossing your fingers that your Volcanic doesn't get wastelanded. The Mountain alleviates that pressure, of course. The downside is you're a deck with Ponder and Brainstorm and Spell Pierce and other single blue spells. So drawing a land that cannot generate blue mana is a big cost.
Gataxian Probe, show me what you got. Jace, Sneak Attack, Pyroclasm, looks like a Spell Pierce, and an Emrakul. So, the 1-2 punch in Sneak Attack and Emrakul, the question is, can he get it into play? Sneak Attack, way better card in this matchup than Show and Tell.
For sure. typically is against red decks, as Pyroblast and Rill Elemental Blast is frequently going to be in their sideboard.
Mm-hmm. And there's a draw for Rill. But again, we feel the matchup here is in his favor. And Tam's hand, while powerful, is a little bit slow.
Pyroclasm does present some challenges for the way that he wants to proceed from here.
Yeah, for sure. You can't put the pressure plus disruption.
Yeah.
And pressure plus permission, however you want to say it. There's Young Pyromancer. So what Rill will have to do is present a threat at a time.
And if you're going to present one threat at a time, you could do a lot worse than Young Pyromancer.
That is true. You know, Rill, again, he won with the Grixis Delver deck in Cincinnati last year, beating Ruben Bressler in the finals playing Imperial Painter. And it just seems like he's the one that wants to make Young Pyromancer work the most.
Mm-hmm.
And again, this card is too good not to have something in Legacy. It really is. I don't know what the perfect shell is, but it seems like a deck like what Rill's trying to do. It's looked really good this weekend.
I like it alongside Cataxian Probe.
You like most things alongside Cataxian Probe.
That's why I'm really enthusiastic about Eric's deck here, as it's capitalizing on all the synergies that I want to capitalize on. Knowing what's in their hand, free spells, looking at things,
Yeah. Cabal Therapy. There's a Pyromancer. Wasteland took down that Volcanic Island. Pass the turn back over to Tam. Looks like he might be stuck on lands a little bit. There's a Ponder, so now he's digging. I wonder if you fight over a card like
well,
this.
I think that's maybe worth a daze, with his only other mana source being a Lotus Petal.
Yeah. Let's it go. You see Petal, Show and Tell, and Forcible are the cards that Tam's looking at now.
I mean, he has to shuffle these away, right? He has to find just lands.
It would seem that way. The problem is like, a Lotus Petal is a quote, land, unquote. Not really true. But the bigger issue here is that I'm drawing Show and Tell and Force of Will. Do I actually think those cards are going to get the job done? Because my draws for the next two turns, I'm a little bit under duress because of this Young Pyromancer. I'd be surprised if that can get the job done.
I'm really surprised Rill decided not to daze this if it was in his hand.
Yeah, if he has a daze, I would love to daze this one-shot Lotus Petal if I could.
The thing is, even if you feel like, okay, I can daze something more relevant down the line, a sneak attack or a show and tell, all other things being equal, Eric should be erring on the side of casting his spells sooner rather than later because he has Young Pyromancer in play. So the faster that he's just cast his spells for whatever value, the sooner he can try to end the game. And that's of paramount importance against Wayne, where we've seen, given enough time, he's going to assemble a winning hand.
Pass the turn back. Rill will take a draw.
And Rill's hand looks pretty loaded from where I'm sitting.
I mean, you see a Force Will along with the blue card. Young Pyromancer is going to provide the clock. Young Pyromancer does a nice job of closing out the game very quickly. We talked about this card versus Tarmogoyf in this deck. Which one's better, which one's worse? They provide a similar clock. They're a little bit different. But Young Pyromancer is looking really good right now as here's a brainstorm for Rill.
In these matchups, the ones that Eric's played in the semifinals and the finals here, I bet he wishes he would have had Tarmogoyf in his deck specifically because of Pyroclasm in both of his opponent's sideboards, but that's a special case.
It's hard to look at it that way.
But it's not fair. And who knows the matches over the course of the day where he played against Liliana the Veil, and it was insane to have Young Pyromancer instead of Tarmogoyf or some other just single creature.
We can't forget either. Pyroclasm is really good against this configuration of the deck. If Pyroclasm is going to be a 3 of them so you can show sideboards, maybe do move towards Tarmogoyf again.
Yeah. Although again, even setting aside Pyroclasm, it feels to me like Eric has a favorable matchup.
Agreed.
Pyroclasm is frustrating certainly, but he's got a lot of good tools for the matchup.
There's Delver. That's flipping next turn. There's Trop. Wow, Rill's hand is great.
Loaded.
2 forces, a daze, and I think another blue card. That hand is great.
I think Wayne has basically, by keeping this pedal on top, has said, I'm going for it next turn or the following turn rather, with show and tell.
Misdirection now. Rill's hand right now is double force, double daze, and he's going to add a misdirection to it, which means he can force something, force it again, and then daze the next thing.
Yeah.
And now he's going to attack here for 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Tam going to go down to 10.
And again, Wayne can't even really initiate the offense here because if his stuff gets countered, it's also adding to the clock.
And that's why you like young Pyromancer in this deck. And now this is fully moving, and you see Rill move his cards forward, saying, all right, let's go. Daze it, float. Are you ready for a showdown? Force my daze. That's cool. Force your show and tell. There's that. I guess we'll just maybe hard cast in other days.
Sure.
Yep. There's your grip.
Yep.
There's an extension of the hand. Eric Rill with 4-color Delver, undefeated with this deck on the weekend. X02 in the Swiss. And now he wins this tournament. Legacy champion here in Milwaukee.
Yeah, and Kent Ketter cannot wait to leave.
Not sure if you guys could see him back there, but he was audibly yelling as our convention center is a little empty here. I get to go home.
Yeah,
I get to go home. Home is a long way away, Kent, in Bloomington, Indiana.